Good morning, everyone. Hope you guys are all doing really well. Sorry, it took me a moment or two just to figure out how the new live streaming works with YouTube. I hope you guys are all doing well out there. We're almost at the very end of July. The summer has been very, very swiftly going by. I have noticed just the other day, I was just thinking how we were complaining how hot it was and then how smoky it was, and now it's almost half over. So how is everyone doing out there in the world today? As you've noticed from the title of this video, is fear your friend or your foe? Today I want to talk about a very vast subject. We're going to talk about a few different points to do with fear and helping us to understand how the brain is something that if we understand how it all operates much better, then it can help us through these types of situations so that we can be in a place of empowerment to create the shifts in our life that we actually truly desire for ourselves. So one of the first times I ever heard this expression, I believe it was from Dr. Wayne Dyer. And the expression was that fear breaks down into the words false evidence appearing real. So what does that mean? So in the course of our evolution, back when we were in our days of being cavemen, there were cases of there really being instances of where we were literally running for our life, whether it was running from someone who was trying to harm you, or if you were running from an animal, or if you were hunting and stalking an animal and then it started to chase you. So that's when that part of our brain really started to begin to develop. And that's also known as the reptilian part of our brain. It's our fight, flight, or freeze part of our brain. And we all know, as we've grown through evolution, that we aren't facing those same types of fears that we did back very, very, very long time ago. But in our current timeline and society, we are, as a collective humanity, going through a different type of fear-induced type of responses. It comes through different belief systems that we have that create and or exacerbate fears. It comes from different types of things going on in our society, within belief systems, within our community. It's very outreaching. So it can be as close to home as what's going on inside your brain, or it can be as far reaching as stuff that's going on the other side of the planet. So if, for example, you'll see in another part of the world where they've had tsunamis and things like that, and it starts to create a reaction in the brain. So during our waking conscious time throughout the day, we normally operate in what's called the beta brainwave frequency. That's our conscious waking brainwave frequency. And throughout the day, if we are going about our day, so we get up, we get ready, we go to work, for example, or we get up, get ready, and we're taking care of our family, or we get up, get ready, and we are doing whatever it is we're doing in the world. We go through that everyday process. And since technology over the last 20 years has started to become evolved, we all are carrying around one of these, a cell phone. So our habits have changed drastically. If we look back 20 years ago, we may have gotten up in the morning, turned on radio, turned on the television to watch the news, or even flip open a newspaper. And those were still inundations on our brain and on our system, but they weren't as deeply impactful. As time has moved on, we are more prone to staying up late, staying on our cell phones, and researching, looking for things, becoming aware of things. And then in the morning, instead of doing what we used to do, say get up, get showered, brush your teeth, get ready, have your coffee, we're now wake up, reach over, pick up our phone, start our day. And the phone basically follows us throughout our whole waking day. So we have created patterns and habits in our lives that are also contributing to our inundation of what goes on in the brain throughout our waking day. So if you're being over inundated with information and things that could be not always so positive, it can start creating a stress reaction in the brain and then into the system and then into the body. So if we stay in that heightened state of reaction more of our day than less of our day, which means that we're in that beta brainwave. And the beta brainwave, if we're in it for too many hours at a time extensively, then that can actually exacerbate the symptoms of anxiety, overwhelm, panic, anxiety, and depression. So one of the things when I work with my clients, or even when I'm just talking or doing a little bit of teaching, is that I ask everyone throughout the day whether they can set a timer in their phone or they can just consciously connect into themselves within, a 60 to 90 minute period throughout your day, and just to sit quietly for a few moments. It doesn't have to be a long period of time. Sitting quietly, you can plant your feet on the floor. Barefoot is preferable. If you can't, that's totally fine. And just sit quietly and tune into yourself. So basically, you're turning off the brain from observing what's going on around you. And you come back inside yourself and you close your eyes. Just kind of slowing down the brain. You can almost feel when you close your eyes that the heart slowly starts to begin to slow down. Tuning into the body, paying attention to what's going on inside your body. And these are all very simple things you can do no matter where you are. If you're sitting in traffic at a light, you can close your eyes for a few moments. If you're in a busy work office environment, you can close your eyes for a few moments. If you're in a very active house with many little ones running around, if you're in a busy work environment inside, outside, it doesn't really matter. Just taking 1 to 5 minutes to close your eyes and tuning into your body and paying attention to what's going on inside your body. Because when you're tuning into the body, you're actually listening and connecting with the energy of your body. And then from there, you can even just adjust your posture. You can sit up a little taller. And then what you can help your brain give back some nourishment with is by, while your eyes are still closed, taking some nice, deep, calming breaths. So when you take a nice, deep breath, you want to be conscious of how you're breathing. So when you breathe, you want to breathe from the bottom of your belly and filling up your belly so it's kind of distended, and hold that breath and then release. And if you repeat this anywhere between 3 to 5 times in that short window of time, what you'll begin to notice is that any tension you might be carrying in your shoulders, simply by adjusting your posture, allows your body to begin to relax. You can feel your shoulders drop down. You'll start to feel any tension in your chest loosen up. You may feel your stomach, if it's been tense from if you're sitting at a computer or if you're busy working on something. You can start to feel more ease coming into your stomach, into the abdomen. Perhaps you're holding that tension in your pelvis, and which can then extend around to the hips and the low back. And just taking those nice, deep, calming breaths. And what that does, it begins to shift the brain out of your beta brain active overthinking state or that reptilian state. And then it shifts it down into an alpha state, which then brings more calm, more ease, more peace, and a little bit more grace into that very precious moment that you're in. We are busy more than we have ever been on this planet. At the beginning of 2020, it helped us to become more conscious and more aware of the importance of slowing down. We as a society have grown so ingrained that we have to work hard to gain things, to be successful, that people who slow down, people who nap, people who meditate, people who do yoga, or people who do breath work, or who whatever, we've grown with these ideas that those people are somehow not as successful, or are perhaps lazy, or are perhaps aloof and don't really care about hard work. But these types of belief systems are what continue to amplify stress and amplify fear and amplify worry in our life. These simple acts that we can choose for ourselves not only change how we are feeling and living in the moment, and the more often we practice it. So if we are to potentially set a timer on our phone, or even a timer on your computer to remind you that you are, that little ding, that reminder, or that buzzing on your phone is a reminder of how important you are. And spending anywhere between 1 and 5 minutes can be every hour or every 90 minutes can be the thing that improves your mental, physical, and spiritual health so significantly. And if this type of thing is not something that works for you or resonates with you, perhaps it's getting up from the chair that you're sitting in and going, standing outside and just standing in the sun, feeling the air on your skin, feeling the sun on your skin, feeling the environment outside of you. Because sometimes we get so busy, we don't remember to stop, pause, breathe, and take a few moments for ourselves. If we make our entire waking day about everyone and everything outside of ourselves, at the end of the day, we are very drained, we're very depleted, we feel unsure of what it is we're even here doing, and what is the point of all of this? What is the point of me working 40 to, God knows, say maybe 60 to 80 hours a week to earn money, to pay my bills, to just repeat the cycle over and over again? So that can also be very overwhelming for people. They start to wonder what it is that they're doing this for, and what are the rewards? And if there's no rewards, then why am I doing this? So then it causes them to question everything about themselves and everything about their lives. And that questioning can actually be quite advantageous, because then it gives you that space to start to question what you really want and how you can make some slight changes. Because creating change for ourselves doesn't have to be monumentous, where you purge out your whole house and you leave yourself a pen and a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be that big. It can be about making simple, small changes. It can be, I'm going to time in my phone or on my computer, wherever, or even just make a mental note when you walk around your home or your environment of keeping track of the time, that I'm going to spend 30 minutes doing something I love every day. If it's perhaps reading a book, perhaps it's sitting in a calm, quiet space, meditating, going for a walk. Perhaps it's picking up the phone and calling somebody that's been on your mind or on your heart. You have the ability every day to change the trajectory of your life simply by making small, simple, but yet effective changes and doing them consistently for yourself. So talking about fear in this subject for today, is it our friend or is it our foe? In certain cases, it is both, because your emotions are important and they all have merit and value, including fear. But sometimes fear and our belief systems in that include fear can actually cause us to be paralyzed to the point that we can take no action and we are just simply staying in a state of being stuck. We're afraid to speak and tell somebody what we are thinking, what we are feeling, what we may need. We're afraid of talking to our spouse about something that's been building up that you've been holding back on discussing. Fear, again, is that breakdown, false evidence appearing real. Because if you really sat back and looked at the fear that you're dealing with, you need to then take the opportunity to look at, is this fear actually real? If I talk about this with my boss, with my husband, with my child, with my friend, if I share, if I become open and vulnerable, is the fear I'm feeling actually real? And giving yourself that opportunity to really think about if what you are concerned about and the fear that surrounds it actually valid. And if they are valid, then that gives you, again, another opportunity to kind of dig deeper. Well, why do I feel this way? Is this a belief system I have? Is this person has shown me evidence that I've tried to talk to him about these things before, that we've not had a good discussion? So then that, again, takes you to another level. Well, how can I talk about? So it then takes you to that level of how can I adjust how I come towards this person with this particular issue or what I'm concerned about in a different manner that can meet that person where they are. And one of the things that is important for us to remember is that we are in a constant state of change and evolution. We as humans, who we woke up as and who we are at midday are not the same person. And who we are at midday and who we are at supper time, not the same person. And at supper to bedtime, again, not the same person. You are constantly learning. You are constantly growing. You are constantly evolving and changing. So if we look back into our memory and say, well, every time I talk to this person about this subject, they react badly. That is putting a limitation on the situation, on the person, and on yourself. That's devaluing yourself and your concern that you're carrying because you're frightful or fearful that this person's reaction to what you're going to talk about is based off of a past experience. And the past is a place for us to resource, but it doesn't always align with who we are today. So who I was last week and who you were last week are not the same person. Because again, we are constantly evolving, growing, and changing. So it is important for us when we're facing things that are fearful that we have to really, instead of being in that reactive reptilian brain where we're panicking and our heart is racing 100 miles an hour, to stop, pause, breathe. Start there. Stop, pause, breathe. Once you're in that calmer state of the alpha brain, you can start doing a little bit of looking within yourself, looking at the situation calmly, concisely, with a little more clarity, and getting to a little bit more of the core of what's really going on. Is it a belief system? Is it about the other person? Are you using their past against them because their past has shown you X, Y, Z? And then realizing from that space, you're starting with a clean slate. That is a space of pure potentiality that their outcome can be something completely different. So yes, our fears can be our friend because it helps us, once we stop, pause, and breathe, to realize what is actually going on and gives us the opportunity to dig deeper into it. You're worth looking into. You're worth doing the research and the investigation into what you're feeling. Your emotions are valid. You are valid. So doing this little bit of extra investigation type work for yourself helps you to begin to grow and continue to evolve. Again, so like I was saying earlier, So if you did this at 9 a.m. because a fear floated into your brain about something that you know you need to talk to this person about at 3 p.m., you have from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. to grow and evolve and change and have a completely different perspective and point of view about this particular situation. So there is nothing that's hard and fast. You can evolve and grow and change in a minute. It's important to give yourself some grace. So if you see this live stream and you're here with me now, great. If you don't see it till another time, what I want to ask everybody is right now, in this particular time when you see this video, I would love for you to ask yourself right now, in this moment, what is my greatest fear? Sit with it, look at it, write it down. What is my greatest fear? What am I truly afraid of? And then take what we've talked about here and start going in and taking some of these tools and figuring out if this greatest fear that you're having and holding, is your fear something that is actually real? And if it is, then what do you want to do about it? You no longer are then the victim of the situation or the fear. You now step back into a place of empowerment so that you get to decide how you want to move forward with the knowledge that if the fear is truly real, then you get to decide, what do you want to do about your fear? It takes you back into a space of empowerment and having back the lead in your life. You're no longer playing the sub role in your life. You're actually stepping into your own leadership role in your life. I remember as a child, my fears as a child were quite strong, and I was afraid of so many things. And the one thing that I remember thinking growing up is that there were so many scary things in the world and things I didn't understand. And I grew up in a home where I had an older sister and my mother and my father. And I didn't really start feeling very comfortable talking about myself or talking about my life or talking about my fears until I started to make some friends. And I mean friends that you could sit down and talk with, and people that you could talk about openly about what you were afraid of. I remember one of the strangest things, and I know it sounds, what I'm going to share is probably going to make you go, okay, that was really weird. But I remember going to visit my cousins, and they had a picture on their wall. It was a poster. It was a movie poster from the movie Jaws. And it was an image of a girl swimming in the water. And then it was the image of Jaws coming up from, descending up out of the water, coming towards her. And it was the big open mouth, and thinking, oh my God, is that real? And at this point in my life, I had not really ever spent a lot of time in water. I was still quite young. My first time ever going to a pool, in my little young mind, I let that memory come back, and it made me terrified to go out into the middle of the pool. Terrified. So I clung to the side of that pool forever. And my friends were like, yeah, just grab a flutter board, come over here. We're going to go in the middle of the pool. I know you can't swim very well, but that'll help you so you will stay above the water. And I was like, I'm not buying it. I did not buy into it. I was like, nope. I'm terrified. I don't want to do it. And then I remember telling my mom how scared I was of swimming in this pool, and I was having a lot of fun, but I was not allowing myself to have any more fun past the wall of the pool. My friends were all jumping off, and, you know, if their parents were there, they would do where they jump off and their parents would catch them. And I was not having that. I was not going off the diving board. I was not jumping off the side. I was not letting go of clinging on the side of this pool, because for some reason I had convinced myself that that Jaws shark was in that pool. even though there was no evidence of that shark being there, there was people all over. But inside my mind, I was trapped in that fear that that shark was coming for me. No one else but me. And to this day, I am still very conscientious of being in the ocean and being in water and being in that vulnerable state and that environment. And I realized that at some point I needed to get over that fear so that I could be more free to enjoy my life. I never really swam a lot. I liked swimming in the pools with my kids, and I did get over it as I had kids because kids help you to kind of conquer your fears and get past them. But when I went to the ocean in Hawaii for the very first time, I remember thinking, man alive, is this ever a magnificent force? And I respected the ocean with so much reverence. And I remember going to the Waikiki beach for the first time and thinking, okay, so I could go in up to my waist and I could always be on guard and I could always be afraid and I could always be concerned that something's coming for me. So in order for me to get over the fear, I gained information. So I asked my fiance at the time questions. I said, okay, so is there do they know in this area if there are a higher population of sharks? Do you know if people have instances where they've been attacked by sharks on this beach? And he went through, I probably asked him 50 questions, and he answered every single one and helped put my mind at ease. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to decide in this moment, I'm going to trust in the information because I've observed, I've brought in the information, it all made perfect sense. And I decided I was going in that ocean because I've flown all the way here and I don't want to go home saying I didn't go in the ocean because I don't feel like it would have been as monumentous, because when we walked along the beach the first night we got there, feeling the energy of the ocean all around me, it was so enlightening and powerful and so joyful that I knew that the reward would be exponential. So I decided to go out, and I went out a little further, and I went out a little further, and I'm floating, and I'm just allowing the waves as they're slowly rolling in to move me around. And I became more and more relaxed and more at ease. I was still mindful that I am I'm in their environment. This is where they live. And that the childhood belief that this Jaws shark was targeting people and harming people because it was just doing this to be harmful was that belief system. And then as I started to shift how I thought and felt and was in the environment of their home, I realized I am a guest in their home. And that if I'm uneasy and my energy is uneasy, that's something that can be felt. So I chose to bring in a state of calm, a state of ease, and allowed myself to enjoy the experience. And every time I would go in, I would get more and more relaxed and more at ease. So it was like a sensory training for me so that I could become more relaxed and more at ease and more aware and more informed each time I went into the water. And that's how I overcame one of my greatest fears as a child, was of this Jaws shark. And now to this day, when I see footage of sharks, I'm not terrified. I'm not overwhelmed. I don't have to shut it off because I understand that they are a natural, beautiful being that is a part of this whole ecosystem of Earth, and that is their home. And they're simply doing what they were naturally created to do. So this is only one particular instance of an experience where our fear is false evidence appearing real. And as we grow and mature and change and learn new information about things, we can overcome those fears or phobias or instances where life feels like it is overtaking us with our fears. Thank you so much for joining me today. I wanted to just take 30 minutes with you guys to share a little bit of insight about how we, as people, can change how our lives are playing out. And that when we examine how the brain functions, and that how fear and our belief systems and how the brain operates, it all works together. And when we understand that many of our fears are a part of our belief systems, which are a part of our brain consists of so many amazing aspects. But when we work with people to help them to release fears, phobias, anxieties, and more, we work with them through hypnotherapy by taking them into that beautiful, deep, meditative trance state so we can access the subconscious mind, where all our beliefs, all our behaviors, all of our practices, all of our belief systems are there. So if there are belief systems, such as the one I held, that are trapped in there, that we've been holding, say, since I would have said I would have been about 5 or 6 years old, and it took me into my early 40s to start to get over that fear, that we have the ability through our own conscious actions, through hypnotherapy, through affirmations, and many other different techniques to help us to overcome fears, to release fears from the subconscious mind, and then actually give our brain information that's actually current, up to date, in alignment with who we are now. And that, as I said earlier, is constantly changing. So your belief systems can be released and replaced and released and replaced as often as and as much as you wish. Because as you start to grow and learn and more about yourself, overcoming fears, phobias, changes in your life, things that you want to create, it's like peeling back a beautiful onion. You're going to find things in those layers that you didn't realize were there, and that you might still be holding on to things and things from your past. So sometimes our past and sometimes our fears are our friend and our foes, and sometimes they're not. But it's not a place of disempowerment to be aware of that. It's actually a place of empowerment, because now you have the ability to make those changes whenever and however often you choose. That is the beauty about this whole human experience, is that the brain is amazing. And the more we understand the brain, I know from all of the research I've done with so many amazing doctors and scientists and researchers who are across the world revered, that what I've learned has helped to change my own life, has helped me within my business, within my practice, and helping all of the clients that I work with. All of the information that I learned, what I learned 6 years ago, has evolved and changed and grown, just like we have. That to me is exciting, because the more we have the opportunity to learn about how we are a constant evolutionary being, the more we can understand ourselves and understand our family members and understand our partners and understand people we work with. And it helps us to bring us closer together, in my humble opinion. So one of the books that I actually wanted to talk briefly with you guys about, I haven't even actually had a chance to delve into it. I was watching an interview, because my curious mind is always looking for new things to research. I actually, through an interview that I watched, I'm going to have to, I can't remember his first name. His last name is Lewis. Darn it, I can't think of his name right now. But he was interviewing Dr. Carolyn Leaf, and she was talking about her newest book, and it's called Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess. And she, in her little 60-minute interview, blew my brain up. What I thought I knew, I found more. And that is what gets me so excited about this work, is that in 60 minutes, I created space in my brain and space in my life and space in my energy to learn something new about the brain and how it operates. And even she said this is her most up-to-date version of her book, because her research and through her practice has been continuing to evolve as she has worked more and more and more with clients and had more opportunity to research. So that's what I love about doctors and researchers, is that they are constantly striving to learn more information about the mind, about humanity, about how our energy impacts ourselves and impacts our families. So I understand that this is what gets me excited, but what I hope you take away from this particular video is that our fears, while yes, they are valid, they can also evolve just like we can. And as I shared, what I was afraid of as a child, I am no longer afraid of, because I have more information, I have more awareness, I have a different point of view about what that original fear was. And it can be changed. You as a person don't have to stay trapped in your fears. You don't have to remain in those very consistent energies of the beta brain where you can get overwhelmed, you can have anxiety build. And that state, when we stay there for too long, can actually create and worsen our symptoms. If we have already anxiety, depression, overwhelm, panic, it can actually keep us in that state longer. So by doing simple things like stop, pause, breathe, grounding yourself, putting your feet on the floor, these are all wonderful things that you can choose to quickly, easily, and simply begin to create change in your life. Thank you guys so much for your time today. Feel free to share the video if it resonates with you and you think it's something someone else can benefit from. I look forward to seeing you guys again in the future. And if we have an audience next time, I would love to be able to interact and ask you guys questions and talk about any of your own personal fears that you're dealing with. And if you do that exercise that I had suggested about, once you watch it from the beginning and then sitting back and really examining what your greatest current fear is, and see if any of the tools that I provided have helped you. I would love to hear from you guys. You can feel free to put your comments in the section below the video. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future with more conversations about fear or anything else. And if there's any subjects that you guys would like me to work on a little bit more with you guys, then feel free to leave those suggestions as well. Wishing you guys a beautiful rest of your Friday, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye.